Greetings everyone, this is Winnie Wriggle and welcome back to All the Mods 9 To the Sky. Today, two things we're going to focus on. One, my arm is tired from sieving. So much clicking. Yes, it is time to automate our hammering and sieving in order to get resources. The other thing I want to do is continue to make improvements on our storage. If we look at our resources chest, this is wonderful. We're rich. However, those resources are in 3 different barrels in our storage system, and that's awkward despite our automated crafting. Wouldn't it be nice if we had a place to put all of those lovely ingots and gems? So we're also going to get into functional storage's storage drawers and a storage drawer system, and we're going to hook that up to our automated system so that we start with cobble and we end up with ingots and gems in our storage system. Okay. Let's go look at our project box. I have already done the crafting, so you do not need to spend an hour with me in a crafting bench. Here's what we're going to do. We've made flux hammers and flux sieves from the Ex Machina mod. I have 3 extra diamond meshes for these 3 sieves. I have also crafted components from functional storage, including some storage drawers and most importantly, some compacting drawers. In addition to the storage controller, think of that as the brains of our collective bulk storage. And then of course, the 2 tools that we'll need to set it up, the linking tool and the configuration tool. So let's take all of our flux hammers and meshes and the upgrades. We're a little poor. We only have gold upgrades right now, but that'll change as soon as we automate things. We will also need a little bit of power in order to make these things work. It's going to take 8 RF per tick per machine. Hopefully our power supply can handle that right now. We're also going to need a couple of chests along with some item pipes and our trusty pipe wrench in order to hook this all together. Now the 3 items we want to end up with in terms of processing are gravel, sand, and dust. And all 3 of those things start with cobble. So we're going to start with cobble gens in all 3 cases. And I'm going to leave 1 space in the middle. So we'll have gravel, sand, and dust. Now our systems are going to be a little slower than we can generate cobble right now. So let's go ahead and put some storage drawers on top of the cobble gens to store the extra cobble they're making. And that's going to be where we pull the cobble into our first flux hammers. So each one of these starts with the same step. We're going to put a flux hammer next to cobble gen, and then we're going to put an item pipe because the flux hammers like to receive items from the top. We'll shift right click on our item pipe with our little wrench to say, yes, we actually do want to pull cobble from the storage drawer into the flux hammer. Now, if we take any hammer from Ex and look at the flux hammer block, you can see a blue outline. That's telling us that the output for that block is currently set to the front. So all 3 of our flux hammers have an output set to the front. That's fine for the first one, but for these other 2, we want to put other flux hammers underneath. And so we're going to change the output by shift right clicking on the side where we want the output to occur. And so in that case, it's the bottom. Now for the first one, since all we want is gravel, which means we only need 1 hammer, we're just going to go ahead and put our sieve right in front of the hammer. And if we hold our stone hammer, you can see that that blue outline is pointing to the front. Every time the flux hammer turns some of this cobblestone into gravel, it'll send it to the sieve in order for it to be sifted. Now, our sieve isn't going to work without a mesh, so let's stick our diamond mesh in there. And the sieve is also going to need somewhere to put the resources that it's providing. And if we hold the hammer up, we can see that by default, that is on the bottom. And for right now, we're just going to use a chest. We'll eventually replace that chest with a way to move the items into our big storage drawer. But we want to make sure that each of these setups is working before we move on to that step. Now we just need to provide both of these blocks with power. So we'll put our energy pipe next to them, run them along the back, and connect up with our power. So now that we have power, the flux hammer is hammering the cobblestone into gravel. And then the flux sieve is sieving it through the diamond mesh. You can see it flash quickly. And our chest is filling up with the resources that we would normally get from sifting gravel in a diamond mesh. First system setup, let's look at the second two. So for the next system, we want the output to be sand. If we check with our hammer, we can see the output is actually underneath our flux hammer. So all I have to do is set another flux hammer underneath that one. And in this case, the bottom hammer's output is already in the right place, that is to the front. So we want to send that to another flux, put our diamond mesh in there, and then make sure that all of these blocks have power. This bottom flux hammer is already getting power, so I'm going to disconnect that one connection there. It's a little bit spaghetti wire, but it's automated. Now we should be able to set a chest underneath this sieve. And hopefully see, yes, these are the items that we would get if we were sifting sand. Again, this is going to be much slower than I could do it manually, but over time, I don't have to sift or hammer items anymore. Okay, the last setup works in exactly the same way. We'll just confirm that the output is indeed on the bottom. We'll put one hammer, check its output, and we want to change its output to the bottom, because we actually need a series of 3 flux hammers in order to get to dust. We check its output, it is to the front. So we take our last sieve, put it on the front, put the diamond mesh in, and then make sure everything's hooked up to power. Okay, all 3 of these hammers and the flux sieve have power. So if we put a chest down here, we should get the items we would get if we were sifting dust. So we've completed the first step, which is automating the hammering and sifting of gravel, sand, and dust. Now we need to deal with all the resources that are going to come out of this, right? So remember when we first made an upgrade to our ore chunks chest, we added an advanced compacting upgrade. I'm going to do the same thing for our automated setup so we don't have to worry about crafting those chunks into the actual ores. So we have an advanced compacting upgrade and a barrel. We also set up automation in order to squeeze those into their raw ores, grind them into dust, and then cook them into ingots. And so we're going to actually set up a version of that automation process right there next to the flux hammer and the flux sieve. So I have a mechanical squeezer, a basic enriching factory, and a basic smelting factory this time. So before this gets too much out of control, I'm going to break the chest down here and replace it with our barrel, and then put the advanced compacting upgrade inside. Okay, so now as ores come in, they should roll up into their ore type. Now we're going to need to put a filter on there to make sure that the only thing we pull out of the barrel are the ores that need to be processed and not the chunks that need to be turned into ores. And we're going to do that by making an upgrade from the pipes mod. So the higher the upgrade, the more filtering option they have. So let's start with a basic upgrade and then maybe turn that one into a gold upgrade. So we're going to take an item pipe, and it's going to have to be a little funky because remember that our mechanical squeezer really only likes things coming in from the top and then leaving from the bottom. So we'll need to use our pipe wrench to disconnect some of these, and also to tell it we want to pull items from the barrel. Can we only filter the diamond ones? We might only be able to filter the diamond upgrade. Okay, let's make the diamond version of our pipe upgrade. There we go. Now we have a whitelist. We want it to whitelist ores. So we're going to add each of the ores that we want by clicking the add button, put an example, and then saying submit. So we've got copper, iron, lead. So the only items that should be allowed through these pipes now are the copper, the iron, the lead, the osmium, the tin, the nickel, the gold, the zinc, and the aluminum ores. Everything else will stay in here, the chunks until they're turned into the ore, and all of the gems and other items which we will move into another location. So the first step is to go through a mechanical squeezer to be turned into the raw ore. Then we want them to go into an enriching factory, which grinds them up into dust. So there's a chance during each of those processes that we'll get more materials than we started with. So this is a great way to increase the output of our resources. And then the last step, of course, is to just smelt them back into regular ingots. We need to make sure these are all configured. So our squeezer, we know, just receives item from the top and sends item out the bottom. Our basic enriching factory needs to be told that items are coming from the right. So this becomes an input, and we want it to send items to the smelting factory that's sitting to its left. And we want to make sure it's set to auto eject on so that it does actually push the items out. The smelting factory needs to be told that there is an input coming in from the right from the enriching factory, and that there will be an output to the left, but we haven't set it up yet. So let's see if we at least can get that far by adding power very simply and crazily with some basic energy pipes. So now our squeezer is getting power, so it's smooshing the aluminum into raw aluminum ore. The enriching factory is taking the ores that it's getting and turning them into dusts. And then our smelting factory is taking those dusts and turning them into ingots. So for right now, I'm just going to stick a chest on the left. We'll turn auto eject on so that it knows to send those ingots to the chest. And you can see that we're getting, from our cobble, we are now getting all of our ingots for those, 8 or 9 different resources. Also, it's loud. Let me introduce you to one of the best mods. If we open up our UI and go to the little speaker, and I say mechanism, and I can see that the smelter is making sounds, I can turn them off. Ah, peace and quiet. So we don't have to set up any kind of process for these other two because the items it's producing don't actually need processing. They fall into the chunks and gems categories. Look at all the goodies. I'm so excited. But we will have to figure out how to deal with them. And that brings us to storage. So in addition to our ingots and metals, we're also getting a whole bunch of resources in the form of gems and other items. And that means we need to handle the storage of these things. And we're going to do that using some functional storage drawers. So we're going to need a storage controller, some compacting drawers, and some regular storage drawers for this, along with the configuration tool and the linking tool. Now, because our ores are happening over here, it probably makes sense to put the drawers that will hold our ores on this side. So we're going to use compacting drawers for this. As you know, most metals, like copper, come in 3 formats: ingots, blocks, and nuggets. And that's kind of a pain to keep track of in a storage system. Some crafting recipes use different forms of that ingot. And so a compacting drawer is designed to let you have access to all 3 forms of a metal from the same space. So if we make sure that the lowest item that we need from the copper is nuggets, and we put nuggets in there, you can see that we get a nugget, an ingot, and a block. Now we can store all of our copper, regardless of what its format was, in the drawer. So we have 1,500 ingots and 169 blocks of copper and 13,000 nuggets. That sounds like a lot of copper. But the genius of the compacting drawers is you can hook them up to a storage system, and whether or not you need a nugget, an ingot, or a block for crafting, compacting drawer lets you pick whatever it is that you need. So we're going to add enough compacting drawers to take care of most of our metals. And we'll do the same thing with the others. For example, lead also comes in nugget, ingot, and block format. Iron, of course. So let me get all of our ingots and metals into the drawers, and then we'll be back to configure them. Real quick before I finish, there are also other blocks that lend themselves to compacting, like redstone. But they don't compact into 3 forms, they only compact into 2. So there's a special compacting drawer for that, and that is the simple compacting drawer. So if I replace one of these with a simple drawer, I can put our redstone in here, and it keeps it as both the dust and the block. Other items that are like this include the diamonds, the emeralds, and the lapis. So I'll replace some of these blocks in order to put those in. Now that we have a place to put things that compact, we also need a place to put things that don't. And here's where our regular drawers from functional storage come in handy. I'm going to use the 2x2 drawers because I like being able to put many different kinds of items in a small space, but you can use any size that you like. They come in variants of 1 per drawer, 2 per drawer, 3 per drawer, and 4 items per drawer. In this case, we're going to look in the chests and see what it is that we might need to store in terms of resources. So we have things like the zirconium gems would be great items to store. And the idea is to give everything that you might get as a possible resource a home or a place to go. Because what we're going to do is set up the drawer controller for all of these drawers, and we're going to feed all 3 of these chests worth of items into this one controller, and it will magically put everything in the appropriate drawers. And one of the most amazing parts about this version of functional storage is that this storage controller can go almost anywhere. Let me show you. If we take our linking tool and hold it in our hand and shift right click on the drawer controller, you can see that the area around us lights up in a highlighted green box. That means that this is the distance from this storage controller that an active drawer can be linked. And so we are just inside the boundary of the area that can be linked to this controller. So I want to link all of the drawers that I have put here, and I'm sure there's a way to shift click and highlight all of them, but I just like to be sure and click every single individual drawer. Okay, so both banks of drawers have been highlighted, which means that they are now linked to this controller. I can do something else cool if I take the configuration tool, and you can change its mode by shift right clicking in the air. So I've swapped the mode to hide show amounts. So if I right click on a drawer, you can see it hides the numbers. If I right click on the controller, it hides all of the numbers for every drawer linked to it. So in this case, I don't want to hide and show things. I want to actually lock the drawers. And so if I swap it to locking mode, right click on the drawer, you can see that every drawer now has a little lock image. That just means that the system can't randomly put items in the drawers that don't already have that item type. It does not stop me from putting items that I want to in the particular drawer. So I get to tell the drawer what kind of item it takes. Now in this case, I did not really want to give it cobblestone. So give me that and let me unlock that drawer, remove the last cobblestone, and then relock it in order to reset the drawer. Now I'm going to go through all 3 of these chests and make sure that every single item in there has a place to go in our drawer system. And that might take me a minute, so I'll be back. And we're back, and everything, hopefully, that goes into those 3 chests and that barrel, not including the ore chunks, has a home now in our storage system. Now all we need to do is get the items out of these chests and put them into the controller, which should send them to the storage. So we're going to do that with item pipes. And I'm going to use my wrench to shift right click and make sure there are no loops in our pipe system. I want all the pipes from those chests to come to a central point before they go into the storage controller. And for this section, I made another advanced pipe upgrade. And we want to set it to whitelist. And I want to add the gems and things. I don't want y'all to go anywhere. Oh, it shoved them in these chests. Oops. Okay. Chaos. Chaos has ensued. That's okay. Everything has a home. Just let me configure this first, game. Okay, so we need to add diamonds, emeralds, lappy, amethysts, amethyst, emerald, diamond, lappy, coal, and flint. There we go. Those should be the only items we're getting from gravel that are not ore chunks. And now they're in a whitelisted filter so they can come into the pipes. Now let me make sure these other chests have a pull on them so that they don't grab the items. Okay, there we go. It's slowly emptying. Oh no, these all need to go away. Gimme. Let's go back in here. Sorry, little storage system. It's very confused. It's like, I don't know what to do with these. Okay, there. So you can see as things like the lappy and the diamond come in, they're being sent to storage. And same here. If both of these chests... Okay, these were extras. Y'all should all have homes to go to. There you go. Okay, we'll put our ore chunks back in here. Nice. We should be seeing most of these items go up. Yes. There was a forest thing. There was some Certus dust. Oh, there went some prismarine. So I think it's working, which is good, given the chaos here. So eventually we'll have ways to move things wirelessly. Like we could probably do this with laser IO as well. But at the very least, we have automated our cobble into resources from all three primary ones, the gravel, the sand, and the dust. We're also processing the ore chunks from the gravel into, oh wow, yeah, y'all don't go in there. Oh, you need a pull. That's why. Okay, make sure all of your chests are set to pull. So it should start pulling these out and putting them in. Yeah, there we go. Much better. And yes, I realize I didn't use any of the gold upgrades that I have. I think our power is not yet sufficient to support these upgraded. So yeah, I'm not going to put the upgrades in yet. Our power system is still low enough where we're only producing 180 RF per tick. And that's barely enough to cover all of those automatic hammers and sieves. In the next episode, we're going to address those power problems and add all of these resources into our storage system so that we can craft from them as well. And to do that, we'll be getting into XNet, which is super fun. But I think that's all I have time for today. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed the episode, please leave a like. It helps me out, and I appreciate it. And in the meantime, remember, you are all the shiny stuff that awesome is made of. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.